keep that from happening. We have 3 O-rings and a rubber seal that goes around. It just wraps around the solenoid. Gotta make sure the cutout is at the connector end. Our retainer. Make sure it fits all the way around that rubber. 3 8mm bolts that hold this on. I'll tighten those down in a minute. Got solenoids on this side. Now, they are different sized O-rings, so make sure you get the right ones in the right spot. I got a bracket on this side and 4 8mm bolts. Alright, we'll be back on the next section of the valve body. Spring. Accumulator has a scarf cut sealing ring on it. Gotta wait for the kit. Spring, heavy spring and ball. 1/4-inch ball goes right there. The light spring and a 1/4-inch ball goes down here. We have dowel pins that go here and here. And then our separator plate goes on, and 2 8mm bolts hold this in. One goes here, one goes here. Alright, let me hunt up a keeper, and then we'll be back. Alright, we got a 1/4-inch check ball that goes right there. We got 2 1/4-inch balls and springs that go right here. These are very easy to knock off while you're putting this on there. So do be very careful that you don't misplace them. Got 2 dowel pins there. Upside down. There, we got this part of the valve body that goes on. Make sure that we are sitting flat. We got 10mm bolts that go on here. These are gold, the rest are black. Black ones hold it to the case. There's another gold one that goes here. I'm gonna have to hunt that up, figure out what they did with it. The hold down bracket for the wires goes on this bolt right here. onto the transmission. There's a detent that goes on here, and there's two balls that go up on the top of the valve body here. Let me see if I can find those real quick. They are 406 thousandths. Make sure that these don't fall out while you're putting your valve body on. Okay, we'll go ahead and do this drum here. It's our overdrive and reverse. Down inside here there's D-shaped O-rings. Two of them. There's a D-shaped ring right here. A D-shaped one on here. Oh, grabbed the wrong piston. There's still a D-shaped one on there. I wonder it wasn't wanting to go. These little tips right here. This spring cage has to fit onto that. Here's a D-shaped O-ring on here. The springs have to fit up inside those deals right there. Put the short end of the taper of our snap ring up, and we don't want the opening there. We want to put it over here somewhere. And after I'll take that same time that I do this drum, just to make it one trip. There's a D-shaped ring in here. Of course, we already said that one. This has got the same tips on it. We got to line our spring up on it. Another D-shaped ring on here. Springs have to fit up inside those deals again. The short end of the taper up again, and we're going to put the opening over in here. Alright, let me go press these two down. Okay, these are our underdrives up here. The cutouts we're going to keep all together. Alright, on the input shaft we have two sealing rings. They are butt cut, so they go together just like so. There's no need to take this input shaft off of the drum unless you can't work with the shaft sticking up through there. And you can pull the snap ring off of here, short end of the taper up again. Alright, on the front, this plastic washer will go up in here. Our overdrive clutches go in first. We have a thick bottom pressure plate. We keep all the cutouts together again. Then our steels. And our top pressure plate. Snap ring. Alright, reverse. Keep the cutouts together again. Okay, should be getting pretty close to needing a battery. I got to change the camera view, so this will be a good time to change the battery. We'll be back when we do that. Okay, there's a couple ways to do the pump. The way I suggest you do it is you go Sonax and you get the KM pump alignment tool. You can do it without it. I've never done it, but it can be done. On the outer gear, the bevel side goes down, the flat side goes up. And then on the inner gear, step side faces down, flat side faces up. Get your ports and line them up. And put your bolts in. Now this unit here came from another shop. They can't seem to fix it. They have a bad delay going into gear, both forward and reverse. They can't seem to fix it. I have a feeling I know what's wrong with it. The unit was already torn apart, so I wasn't able to do a disassembly. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this piece by piece, check everything, and put it back together. And then I think it may be fixed. It's probably the valve body gasket. I don't never put them back on. I would suggest that you don't put them on either. Put your lineup tool in there and go ahead and tighten this down. By the way, put your pump bushing in, put your pump seal in. There's two sealing rings back here, the hook and loop. They go together just like so. Gasket goes on here. Got an O-ring on the front. Now if you're not going to use the lineup tool, you'll want to take your O-ring off. You're going to want to take this transfer gear out. Leave your pump bolts loose. You're going to set your pump onto here. Loosely fit. Put your front case half on. Put a couple bolts to hold it. It's going to line this up. Then you're going to come in from the back side. You're going to flip this over. And you're going to come in and tighten those bolts down while that's all together. And that should get you lined up. Try to keep hitting the camera. There's no need to take this apart. I've never had one that was bad. If you get one that's blown up, you're going to be buying all this anyway. So I don't normally even take it out of the case. I don't even take this transfer gear out. To get this transfer gear out, you got 50, I think it's 45 plus Torx. On the back side here, you take this rubber plug out. There's an 1 9/16 nut, left-handed thread. Take that off. and drive your pinion shaft out, and take a bushing driver and you can drive this whole housing out. There's a race and a snap ring and a shim and a sleeve that goes in there. Like I say, I don't never take that stuff out. If you feel the need to take it out, then by all means take it out. Alright, I'm going to put this back in. There's 840 Torx in here. What you're going to do is you're going to line this up, put 4 of them in, start them, and turn it, put the other 4 in, and tighten those down, then turn it and tighten the other 4 down. Once I get that all in there, we'll be back. Stinking thing. And we got to line this tab up with that hole right there. And it's really easy to not get that thing to line up. There we go. We got our return spring, our plate. On this here, there's a seal that goes in here, and there's a right way and a wrong way. There's a flat side and there's kind of a pointed side. The pointed side goes up, and then there's cutouts in here that have to line up with these little cutouts in here, and you just turn it until it, you turn it the right way, make sure the seal side's down, and you just got to find a spot where it lines up and go press this down. Short end of the taper is going to be up again. Now we got our sprag assembly. There's no need to take that out of there. We have our planetary. Ouch. Alright, we have this bearing. This side's going to go down. We have our sun gear. We have this planetary. This bearing's going to go on. Alright, sprag assembly is going to go on. Come on, drop in there. Why are you being a snot? There we go. Turning counterclockwise, locking clockwise. Okay. Now this is kind of a lot like your Chryslers, 604s, 42 RLEs, all those that if you get the snap rings in the wrong spot and you put the pressure plates upside down, you use the wrong stuff, it's not gonna work. So from the factory, a lot of these have a coiled ring that go on here, like the return spring that was on there. Those break all the time. Always put a solid ring on there. Make sure it's in its groove. Alright. Some of this stuff is selective. If you want to know what that is, you're going to have to go to the Patreon side. This one here happens to be 86 thousandths on the bottom steel. I'm going to line those teeth up. And our clutches are 66 thousandths. The next steel is 38 thousandths. And then those are going to be the same until we get to the pressure plate. Sometimes it's easier to leave this last clutch out until you put your snap ring in. Just don't forget to put it in there. 78 thousandths on the snap ring. Opening's going to be over here about the 2 o'clock position. It goes in the bottom groove. I should have put that last clutch in after. It's wanting to be a snot. Alright, looks like I'm going to have to take that last clutch out. Sometimes you can get it in, sometimes you can't. Looks like it's half in there, half out. Unless my piston is not sitting in there properly, which could be the case. In fact, I think it is the case. I don't think we're sitting all the way in there quite right. Alright, we go straighten this out. Okay, and we got our pressure plate. Step is going to go down. The small tab is going to go down here. Large tab is going to go up here. We got $90 thousandths snap ring. Opening's going to be at the 2 o'clock again. Alright, gonna be that way. I don't know why this tranny's wanting to fight so much. Alright. Let's see what our clearance feels like right there. Feels pretty good. We got our hub. It's going to go on here. Our clutches, 70 thousandths. Our steel, our bottom steel has a step to it. This one is 96. The step is going to go down. The other steels are 96. turn spring. We have D-rings on here. Sure we're all the way down. Alright, looks like this little tab right here has to go right there. Make sure that your feed port is lined up with this hole right there once you're all done. Snap rings over at about the 2 o'clock again. And you're going to have to press this down while putting the snap ring in. Usually I just get it started and then I tap it in. Make sure you're all the way in that groove. Alright, let's see what our clearance is like. It feels pretty good. Our bearing, this side goes down. Our hub, our bearing. And the back side of this drum, this bearing goes. Sounds down. And in our case, we got 3 O-rings that go right here. We have 4 sealing rings that go up in here. You want to check these ring grooves real close and make sure there's not too much play up and down. And they're hook and loop. They just go like that, all 4 of them. And we have our shim that goes on the back here. Silicone, and then we got these 12mm bolts that hold that in. Get that on, and we'll flip this unit over. We'll be back. Alright. Put our diff in. And see if we can get this to stand up a little bit. We got our hub. Nothing goes underneath it. Got this bearing. Sits on top, and our drum sits on here. Drum is all the way down when you can look through the speed sensor hole, and it's in the center. We have our filter. It's going to go in here. Make sure the O-ring's on it. There are 2 O-rings that go in those holes right here. I'm going to have to hunt those up because they have disappeared. And we got our gasket that goes on our pump. A lot of times I will just go ahead and put gasket sealer on here, or just put a little dab of grease and hold it into its position. I think we already talked about the sealing rings or hook and loop. We got our bolts for our pump here. See if I can get in here without messing up the camera. Making sure we're lined up properly. These are 12 millimeters, 14 millimeters on the case. Go ahead and lube up your O-ring and lube up the case where it comes down on here. Silicone on here. Bolt the case half down. I gotta go hunt these O-rings up, and I'll do that. And then I gotta change camera angles so we can see the valve body. Okay, let's go ahead and do the valve body bolts first. Measure. We're going to start up the top, work our way down up this side, and then all these are the same. So the 2 up here in the corner are inch 21 thousandths. All these down to here are inch 722. This one here is 2 inches. This one here is 3 inch 196. This one right here is 3 inches. All these up to the top should be the same. Inch 727. Let's make sure that we are. Yes, we are. On the ones in the center, the black ones, 4 inch 370. And then we got a 8 millimeter that holds our detent on up here, 692. We have seal. There are different ones, so be careful that you do get the right length one in there. And when you put it in there, you want this opening to be pointing towards that slot right there. Make sure that this is not sitting too far down. See, this is pretty much flush where the valve body is at. In fact, it's sticking up just a little bit, so the valve body is going to push on that. And then we got a filter that goes in right here. I usually just stick a little grease on it to hold it. And put my stick ball back in here and go ahead and pull my valve body bolts out. These are just going to be in the way. Usually I have the wiring harness just left attached to this. This guy had already taken it off, so it does make it a little bit easier to get your bolts in there. Alright, We'll lube up our O-ring on our wiring harness. It's going to go in there just like this. And where's my clip? Oh, I brought the clip over here. I'll put the clip on in a minute, I guess. I don't know where it disappeared to. On our accumulators, you need to make sure and not mix these up. Put them up inside the transmission first, and then they are scarf cut again. The one on the end is by itself. I got all the measurements on Patreon. They do have ink stamps in here. Sometimes they correspond with what they say, sometimes they don't. Alright, that one popped out. Alright, now let's see on our valve body. Let's see if this gasket is stinking check balls. I don't know why they had to stick these check balls up in there. Now let's see how the gasket looks on this thing. What you got to be concerned with is right up in here. Now there are two different gaskets. They don't always give them to you in the kit. And it'll block a hole. If you look, and they put this gasket on there. Alright, this one is not blocking it too much, but I will say this gasket can cause you fits. Like I say, there's two different ones. They don't always give you both of them. Throw this thing away. There's actually a bulletin out there that recommends that you do not put the gaskets on the valve body. This has to line up in our linkage right there, and then our dowel pins have to line up in the case. Sometimes it is not always so easy, especially to try to get this on camera. These dowel pins like to fit tight. That one was not too bad. I'm going to go ahead and put one in the center. Kind of hold that in place. Let's see. This one, it's got to go there. Pin that goes in there and holds that linkage. It's an inch long, 117 thousandths. Alright, bring our wiring harness down. Red and white wires, red and blue, blue and yellow, purple and yellow, red and pink, and our temp sensor goes down here, and there is an O-ring on it, and that bolt holds that in there. I got this upside down. Usually what this does is I have one that goes up and one that goes down. I think it makes crap so much as you just need to hold that harness down. Usually it's up a little bit higher, sitting up there, something like that. Alright, make sure nothing's going to get pinched anywhere. It's usually tucked up inside there like so. Oh, there's my clip. I knew I brought it over here. I don't know why it was hiding from me. Alright, 8mm holds our detent on. Alright, I can put the pan on in a minute. No need for you to watch that. Usually they give you a gasket. Whoever built this one did put a gasket on it. I don't like the gaskets, I just silicone them. Alright, let's see if we can get this on camera somewhat. So you're going to put this in neutral, right there. When you put your linkage on, this is going to be on there. There's a hole right there. Just get you a drill bit that fits that hole. And this is a little small, but you're just going to line those up. Move your drill bit in and out nice and easy. When it does that, then tighten your bolts down. this. It helps put it on the right direction. And two 10mm that hold that on there. No need to watch that, I've already explained it. Just make sure that your nut, why we're so far off. Oh wait, that's park, reverse and neutral. There we go. That's why we're so far off. Lock nut. And our nut. Make sure that you get that started nice and straight before. There's two different speed sensors. This speed sensor goes up here. These speed sensors are horrible. They fail all the time. Two 10mm that hold it on. And we put the pan on, and we're done with this unit.